The morning sun filtered through the towering oaks lining Main Street in Oak Haven, Illinois, casting a gentle glow over the manicured lawns and the sleek black SUVs parked along the curb. Inside the Bean and Leaf, a high-end coffee shop with reclaimed wood accents and Edison bulbs, the hum of conversation filled the space. Patrons scrolled on their devices, sipping lattes and nibbling on scones. At a small table near the window, Special Agent Kendrick Hale adjusted the cuffs of his tailored charcoal suit, taking a slow breath. Today was supposed to be ordinary, a simple coffee before a scheduled meeting with District Attorney Vanessa Rhodes. Kendrick wasn't just any man. He was the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Civil Rights Division, a man who had spent decades bringing justice to the corrupt and dangerous. His reputation preceded him. Yet here, in the polished calm of Oak Haven, he was just another man in a suit. Kendrick opened his phone, reviewing the sealed indictment against a major cartel. A subtle smile crept onto his face. Justice, he thought, could be as precise as the timepiece on his wrist, a vintage Omega, gift from his wife after his promotion. Outside, a black and white Dodge Charger rolled past, the emblem to protect and serve gleaming in the sunlight. Behind the wheel was Officer Bryce Caldwell, a man of considerable ego and minimal subtlety, itching to assert authority in the quiet town. His gaze landed on Kendrick, seated alone, exuding calm confidence. To Caldwell, it looked suspicious. The cruiser came to a screeching halt. Officer Caldwell's boots hit the sidewalk, echoing in the shop. Patrons paused, conversations halted, all eyes subtly drawn to the tension building near the window. Kendrick remained seated, calmly sipping his coffee, eyes scanning the street. The officer approached. "You live around here?" Caldwell barked, his tone loud enough to draw attention. Kendrick set his cup down slowly, meeting Caldwell's gaze evenly. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked. Caldwell, fueled by arrogance and prejudice, demanded his identification. Kendrick's voice lowered, calm yet deadly precise. "Officer, you are making a mistake. I suggest you step back." The officer grabbed Kendrick's arm, a miscalculated move that shattered the fragile order in the shop. Patrons gasped, phones rose, recording the moment. Kendrick Hale stood, taller than Caldwell, but he didn't flinch. His tone was measured, his presence commanding. "I am not resisting. I have done nothing wrong." Caldwell, blinded by ego, attempted to cuff him. Kendrick's hand rested near his leather wallet where his credentials were housed. "Officer," he warned, "these are federal credentials. Misstep here, and the consequences are severe." "SI." Caldwell's skepticism was palpable, but the moment he opened the wallet, the gold badge glinted in the light. Special Agent Kendrick Hale, FBI. Silence rippled through the room. Caldwell realized the magnitude of his error, panic flashing in his eyes. Kendrick maintained control, calm and authoritative, as the officer's confidence crumbled. Outside, the silver Mercedes blocked the cruiser, and District Attorney Vanessa Rhodes emerged, her presence commanding and fierce. "Officer, release him!" she shouted. The city had just witnessed the unraveling of a man who overestimated his authority. The stakes were now national. As the confrontation escalated, cameras recorded every moment, the truth no longer confined to whispers. Kendrick's mind was clear. This wasn't just about a coffee shop encounter. It was about exposing systemic abuse and ensuring accountability. The quiet morning in Oak Haven was about to erupt into a reckoning. Caldwell's hands trembled as he forced Kendrick Hale toward the hood of the cruiser. The air was thick with tension, the kind that presses against the skin and makes every movement feel weighted. Patrons pressed their phones to the glass, capturing every angle. Kendrick remained composed, the handcuffs biting into his wrists, but his mind focused. "Officer Caldwell, read me my rights," he said, his voice steady and unyielding. Caldwell froze, caught between adrenaline and panic. Behind them, 3 black Chevy Tahoes slid into place, their tinted windows reflecting the shocked faces of the coffee shop patrons. Tactical agents emerged, silent and precise, surrounding the scene like shadows in motion. Vanessa Rhodes stepped forward, her presence commanding the chaos. "He is a federal agent," she yelled, fury cracking her tone. Caldwell's face paled as recognition dawned, but the situation had already spiraled beyond control. Kendrick's calm authority contrasted sharply with the officer's flailing ego. As the agents secured the perimeter, Kendrick's mind raced through Title 18, Section 242. Every motion Caldwell made, every word, was evidence now. The ride to Oak Haven PD was silent, except for the soft clicks of handcuffs and the subdued hum of engines. Caldwell's bravado eroded with every block, his eyes darting nervously to the SUVs shadowing him. Kendrick sat with measured composure, observing, noting, calculating. "You know, if you apologize, we can work this out," Caldwell muttered, his voice fragile. Kendrick turned his head slowly, voice cold and precise. "There is no negotiation. You have committed the act. Everything else is just evidence." The police station loomed ahead, usually a fortress of control for Caldwell. Today it was a cage. Inside, Chief Warren Hayes' office hummed with the low tension of miscalculation. The evidence bag on the counter contained Kendrick's personal effects, yet no one noticed the subtle red pixel blinking on his Omega watch, a recording device capturing everything. Hayes and Caldwell scrambled, trying to fabricate justification, unaware that every whisper, every decision was being documented with unerring accuracy. Kendrick's patience was absolute. He didn't speak, didn't react to provocation. He allowed the arrogance around him to unravel naturally, ensuring the pattern of abuse was undeniable. Vanessa coordinated with agents, media, and legal counsel, orchestrating exposure with surgical precision. The corrupt decisions, the internal deceit, were now caught on camera and in high-fidelity audio. The stage was set for accountability. The first domino tipped by a simple, measured act of resistance and authority. Kendrick knew the real work was only beginning. Every lie Caldwell and Hayes crafted would be unraveled. Every false narrative would be exposed. In that quiet, suffocating tension, the truth began its march, unstoppable, and the citizens of Oak Haven were about to see justice in its rawest form. Inside Oak Haven Police Department, the booking area buzzed with tension. Chief Hayes paced, trying to maintain a veneer of control, while Officer Caldwell fumbled with reports that no longer mattered. Kendrick Hale, seated calmly, handcuffs still in place, radiated quiet authority. Each sound, the clatter of keys, the murmur of officers, felt amplified against the pressure of impending exposure. Kendrick's focus was unwavering. His mind catalogued every procedural misstep, every ethical breach, every act of arrogance that had led to this moment. Outside, the autumn wind rustled leaves along Main Street, a subtle reminder that the world beyond this building remained oblivious to the storm inside. Vanessa Rhodes leaned against the counter, arms crossed, observing the unfolding chaos. She had already called media and legal counsel, ensuring every step would be documented. Kendrick's eyes flicked to the surveillance cameras, noting angles and potential blind spots. The evidence bag on the counter contained his personal belongings: phone, watch, badge, wallet. The watch blinked with a faint red light, recording every conversation, every whispered instruction Hayes and Caldwell tried to orchestrate. The officers tried to regain control, but the weight of federal oversight bore down. Kendrick's calm was not passive, it was strategic, each measured breath and subtle glance reinforcing the reality that he was untouchable in this situation. Caldwell's ego crumbled as he realized the scope of his error. Hayes' attempts to manipulate the dispatch logs, to fabricate a call to justify the unlawful arrest, were now futile. Kendrick's team in Chicago had already intercepted and preserved evidence. The lobby's glass walls reflected a flurry of activity. FBI agents in tactical gear moved silently, coordinating containment and witness management. Kendrick's attention shifted to procedural compliance. He understood the importance of leaving no loopholes for the defense to exploit. Every action taken by Hayes and Caldwell was being meticulously recorded, creating an unassailable trail of misconduct. Vanessa's voice broke the silence occasionally, coordinating press, ensuring documentation, and exerting pressure that mirrored Kendrick's unspoken strategy. Outside, the first news vans began arriving, their satellite dishes extended, cameras poised to capture every exit and interaction. Kendrick's calm presence contrasted starkly with the panicked officers, highlighting the disparity in authority, experience, and foresight. In the squad room, Hayes and Caldwell whispered frantic plans, unaware that their voices, captured by Kendrick's watch, would become the keystone of accountability. Every falsified log, every fabricated narrative, every attempt to manipulate evidence was now sealed in high-fidelity recording. Kendrick's patience, discipline, and strategic restraint transformed a simple coffee shop incident into a meticulously documented case of systemic abuse. The storm was no longer a possibility, it was a certainty, and the dominoes were set to fall with unwavering precision. By the time Kendrick Hale was escorted into the interrogation room, the atmosphere was electric with tension. The walls, painted a muted beige, absorbed every sharp word and nervous movement, while the bolted metal table at the center became a stage for accountability. Chief Hayes settled into the chair opposite Kendrick, trying to radiate authority but failing under the weight of exposure. Vanessa Rhodes stood in the corner, eyes alert, arms crossed like twin sentinels of justice. Kendrick's composure was unnerving. He leaned slightly forward, every gesture deliberate, every pause calculated. "Agent Hale," Hayes began, his voice tight. "I've known Bryce Caldwell for 10 years. He's a family man. He makes mistakes, but he—" Kendrick cut him off, calm and precise. "Chief, this isn't about speculation or past intentions. It's about documented patterns. While in the back of that cruiser, I obtained statistical evidence. Officer Caldwell has 14 complaints of excessive force in the past 5 years, 12 involving minorities. None were sustained." Hayes's face paled, the words landing like blows. "Internal Affairs is independent," he stammered. "Sergeant Miller handles it. He's his brother-in-law." Kendrick's eyes locked onto the chief, voice steady. "Chief, we know everything. Your department's culture of complicity ends here. This isn't personal, it's systemic." Vanessa stepped forward, cutting the tension with sharp clarity. "Chief Hayes, I will not prosecute Agent Hale, but I am opening an immediate investigation into your department's use of force. Effective immediately." Hayes's protest faltered. The reality was undeniable. The room had transformed from a routine interrogation into a crucible of accountability. Kendrick retrieved the notes he had jotted on the back of his briefing, unfolding evidence that tied the fabricated dispatch logs and internal collusion together. Every lie, every misstep, every attempt to cover wrongdoing was meticulously documented. The agents outside the room were ready, surveillance cameras capturing every interaction, ensuring that no manipulation could occur. Hayes and Caldwell's desperation became palpable, every move was under scrutiny. Kendrick's strategy was deliberate. He allowed them to unravel under the weight of their own miscalculations. The evidence, captured on his modified Omega watch and preserved on his phone, provided irrefutable proof of conspiracy and abuse. Kendrick's calm was a tool as sharp as any blade. The power of documentation and measured patience eclipsed brute force. Outside, the autumn air stirred, leaves rustling in quiet contrast to the storm inside. Oakhaven's citizens remained unaware, but the wheels of justice had begun their irreversible turn. Kendrick understood that every second of patience, every measured interaction would solidify the path to accountability. The room's energy shifted, the officer's bravado dissolved, replaced with fear and the first flickers of comprehension. Kendrick's presence was both mirror and reckoning, the embodiment of authority tempered with precision. Today, Oakhaven was witnessing the slow, inevitable fall of those who had misused their power, and Kendrick Hale was ensuring that no narrative could obscure the truth. The deposition room in Chicago was stark, glass walls reflecting the intensity of the moment. Officer Bryce Caldwell and Chief Warren Hayes sat on one side of the table, their posture rigid, trying to project confidence. Across from them, Kendrick Hale leaned forward slightly, exuding controlled authority, while Derek Vaughan, his civil rights attorney, maintained a quiet, calculating presence. The court reporter's fingers moved briskly over the stenotype, capturing every syllable, every subtle inflection. Vaughan began, his voice measured. "Officer Caldwell, please describe the morning of the incident at the Bean and Leaf." Caldwell straightened, trying to muster the poise of a man in command. "I was responding to a dispatch call," he said, voice slightly too loud, too rehearsed. "Report of a man with a gun." Vaughan's gaze was steady, analytical. "And how did you receive this call?" "Over the radio, through my computer terminal," Caldwell replied, conviction masking unease. Kendrick noted the micro-twitch at the corner of Caldwell's eye, a subtle giveaway. Vaughan pressed further. Are you certain this call existed prior to your entry, or did you construct it to justify subsequent actions? Silence fell. Caldwell's jaw tightened. Hayes shifted uncomfortably. The room felt taut, every word carrying weight. Vaughan's tone sharpened. Chief Hayes, you oversaw the retrieval of the dispatch logs. Can you verify their authenticity? Hayes adjusted his tie, trying to mask his panic. Yes, I pulled the logs myself. The call came in at 8:12 a.m. Vaughan leaned back slightly, letting the statement hang in the air. Interesting, he murmured. Vaughan retrieved a USB drive from his briefcase, plugging it into his laptop. I have a forensic digital analysis of Oak Haven PD's server, he explained, voice low but lethal. More importantly, I have a recording capturing a conversation between Chief Hayes and Officer Caldwell discussing fabrication of evidence. The playback began. Hayes's and Caldwell's voices filled the room, planning the insertion of a false dispatch call to justify the unlawful arrest. Caldwell's face drained of color. Hayes's fingers fumbled as they gripped the table. Every word was captured, irrefutable, a testament to their conspiracy. Kendrick sat motionless, absorbing the weight of their own confessions now documented. The deposition transformed into a trap, every fabricated narrative exposed. The camera captured it all, the court reporter's keys clicked relentlessly. Vaughan's delivery was precise, surgical, ensuring that no claim of misunderstanding could survive scrutiny. As the room held its collective breath, the inevitable became undeniable. The corrupt officer's defense had collapsed, and the path to accountability, civil and criminal, was set in motion. Every false justification, every attempt to rewrite history had been recorded, preserved, and now would serve justice. The room remained silent as the recording played, each word from Hayes and Caldwell reverberating like a death knell for their careers. Vaughan let the audio linger, ensuring the weight of the evidence settled over everyone present. Kendrick Hale sat with perfect composure, eyes fixed on Caldwell, unyielding and calm. The power dynamics had shifted entirely. The predator had become the subject of scrutiny. Caldwell's hands shook, his confident facade eroding as he realized that no fabricated call, no misrepresentation could absolve him now. Hayes leaned back, sweat beading on his forehead, the magnitude of their collusion crystallizing. The USB drive's audio had captured not just their intent, but their planning, their attempt to manipulate justice. Every word would stand in court, every nuance now weaponized against them. Vaughan's voice cut through the tension, precise and unrelenting. Officer Caldwell, Chief Hayes, you are both under arrest for conspiracy to deprive civil rights, obstruction of justice, and perjury. The agents present moved swiftly, cuffing Caldwell and Hayes in a seamless, choreographed execution of justice. The court reporter's keys clicked rapidly, documenting every detail for the record. The room, previously filled with the illusion of control for the two men, now bore witness to their complete downfall. The camera continued to record, capturing the unflinching reality that authority without accountability is vulnerable. Kendrick's presence dominated, silent yet omnipresent, a reminder that every misstep in the exercise of power could be exposed. The city attorney, Peter Lewis, sat stunned, the implications of the evidence and the arrest dawning upon him. Vaughan leaned forward, addressing him and the remaining officials. The settlement offer now stands at $5.6 million, with a federal consent decree over the Oak Haven Police Department. Any refusal risks immediate public disclosure of the audio recording. The atmosphere was taut, a mixture of fear, realization, and the impending consequences of corrupt actions. Kendrick Hale, the calm architect of accountability, had ensured that the truth would no longer be obscured. Every misdeed, every fabricated log, every attempt at deception had been preserved and presented in a manner that left no room for obfuscation. Outside, the city of Oak Haven remained unaware, but the ripples of justice were already spreading. The events set a precedent, a clear message that misuse of authority carries both moral and financial consequences. For Kendrick, the victory was not in the settlement, but in the assurance that the system he served would now begin to recalibrate toward justice. Every agent, every citizen watching would understand the cost of unchecked power. In the weeks following the arrest, Oak Haven was gripped by media scrutiny. News vans lined Main Street, and social feeds were flooded with footage from the Bean and Leaf incident. Kendrick Hale, seated in his Chicago office, watched reports of the city council's emergency meeting, the settlement, and the growing public outrage. The $5.6 million judgment was a tangible symbol of accountability, and its financial impact sent shockwaves through the community. The mayor, flanked by council members, announced cuts to city projects, tax hikes, and reduced library hours. A stark reminder that corruption carries a cost. Kendrick didn't revel in the financial fallout. His focus remained on the systemic change required. Vanessa Rhodes, now in private practice, sat beside him, analyzing the unfolding media coverage. She had been instrumental in coordinating legal strategy and ensuring transparency. But Kendrick knew the work wasn't finished. They turned to the final phase of accountability, transforming the punitive settlement into a tool for enduring justice. Kendrick had already filed the necessary paperwork to establish a non-profit using the settlement funds. The organization, strategically named the Caldwell and Hayes Center for Civil Rights, would serve as a legal defense fund, providing high-level representation to any resident wrongfully stopped or detained by police. Vanessa studied the documents, incredulous. "You're going to use their money against them?" she asked, a mix of awe and disbelief in her voice. Kendrick's expression was resolute. "Every dollar ensures that no abuse goes unchecked. Their names will be remembered every time the building doors open. Every officer will know oversight is real." Outside, Oak Haven residents began processing the implications. The wealthiest neighborhoods, previously insulated from the consequences of police misconduct, were now facing the tangible results of systemic failure. Kendrick's strategy combined legal precision with public accountability, ensuring both moral and financial consequences. The nonprofit's creation sent a powerful message. Justice is sustained not only through enforcement, but through continuous, vigilant advocacy. Every arrest, every report, every violation would be subject to scrutiny. The foundation would operate with complete transparency, auditing procedures and offering representation without prejudice. Kendrick and Vanessa left the office that afternoon, the city skyline glowing in late autumn light. Each step they took reinforced the notion that authority carries responsibility, and that those who abuse power will ultimately face exposure. The morning coffee run that seemed mundane had set in motion a sequence that reshaped Oak Haven's approach to civil rights enforcement. For Kendrick Hale, the lesson was simple. The most effective weapon isn't force, it's the truth, meticulously preserved and strategically deployed. The foundation was a living testament to that philosophy, ensuring that accountability would continue long after headlines faded. The autumn sun dipped lower over Chicago, casting long shadows across the streets as Kendrick Hale and Vanessa Rhodes finalized the plans for the Caldwell and Hayes Center. Inside the office, the buzz of staff preparing legal materials and reviewing case files filled the room. Each document was meticulously checked, every procedural step confirmed to ensure airtight representation for future clients. Kendrick's phone pinged with updates from Oak Haven. News reports, council deliberations, and community reactions. The public discourse was shifting. Citizens were no longer passive observers, but active participants demanding accountability. Kendrick reviewed the settlement funds, now officially allocated to the non-profit. Each dollar represented both restitution and a mechanism for systemic oversight. Vanessa, reviewing the projected impact, noted, "This will change the culture in Oak Haven. Officers will think twice before abusing authority." Kendrick nodded. "We're not just enforcing rules, we're creating lasting deterrence. The names Caldwell and Hayes will now symbolize the cost of corruption." Outside, media crews continued to broadcast the story. Oak Haven residents discussed the events in real time, sharing footage from the coffee shop incident and subsequent arrests. The narrative had shifted from a simple confrontation to a cautionary tale of unchecked authority meeting unwavering scrutiny. Kendrick emphasized the strategic purpose of the center, auditing arrests, offering legal representation, and documenting patterns of misconduct. This proactive approach would ensure that no officer could operate with impunity. Vanessa leaned back, reflecting. "You've taken a single act of injustice and turned it into a blueprint for accountability," she said. Kendrick's expression remained solemn yet resolved. "Justice isn't passive. It requires deliberate, sustained action." Across the city, Oak Haven's administration scrambled to adjust to the consequences of their prior negligence and corruption. Budget reallocations, public scrutiny, and legal oversight now dominated discussions. The financial impact was immediate, but the societal impact would ripple for years. Kendrick watched the city's response unfold, understanding that true accountability demanded patience, vigilance, and precision. The center would act as a permanent reminder. Abuses of power have costs, and transparency is a powerful deterrent. As night fell over the city, Kendrick Hale closed his office window, watching the streetlights illuminate the skyline. For him, this was the culmination of decades of work, a testament to strategy, resilience, and the unyielding pursuit of justice. The story of Oak Haven had begun as a simple morning coffee, but it evolved into a blueprint for systemic change, demonstrating that truth and preparation are mightier than unchecked authority. Kendrick Hale's next focus was outreach and education. The Caldwell and Hayes Center quickly became a hub for community awareness, hosting workshops on civil rights, proper police conduct, and legal procedures. Residents from all over Oak Haven attended, eager to understand their rights and how to respond to potential abuses of power. Kendrick's strategic foresight ensured that each session was meticulously structured, combining legal knowledge with real-world applications. Meanwhile, the city's police department faced ongoing scrutiny. Officers, aware of the center's presence and the public's engagement, began adhering strictly to procedure, knowing deviations could result in federal oversight and legal consequences. Kendrick and Vanessa monitored each case, offering guidance to both clients and local attorneys. They implemented a system of audits, tracking patterns in arrests, complaints, and officer behavior. Every irregularity, every potential misconduct, was flagged for immediate review. Kendrick understood that sustainability was key. This wasn't a one-time victory, but the beginning of a long-term cultural shift. Vanessa commented on the impact. They're changing how officers think. Fear of accountability is shaping behavior in ways fines and lawsuits never could. Kendrick agreed. The presence of constant oversight, coupled with proactive legal representation, created a deterrent stronger than any policy memo. Oak Haven residents began to feel empowered, understanding that the mechanisms of justice were accessible, transparent, and effective. As the center grew, Kendrick ensured resources were allocated efficiently. Legal teams were trained in federal and state law nuances. Investigators were skilled in collecting and preserving evidence, and outreach coordinators engaged directly with the community. Each success story, each prevented abuse, reinforced the center's mission. Meanwhile, Caldwell and Hayes faced the lingering consequences of their actions. Their names became synonymous with corruption and negligence. A cautionary tale echoed throughout local and national media. Kendrick's strategy had transformed individual justice into systemic reform. The center was more than a legal entity. It was a beacon, a symbol that accountability can be both immediate and enduring. As evening settled over Chicago, Kendrick reviewed reports from the Oak Haven office, noting the progress, planning next steps, and ensuring that every aspect of oversight was precise. The ripple effect was undeniable. A single act of courage and meticulous strategy had reshaped a city's approach to civil rights enforcement and set a precedent for communities everywhere. Kendrick Hale began reviewing the long-term strategy for the Caldwell and Hayes Center. Every case, every complaint, and every pattern of misconduct was logged meticulously, ensuring the center could respond quickly and decisively. The staff, trained under Kendrick's precise standards, became an extension of his disciplined methodology, conducting audits and representing clients with unmatched professionalism. Vanessa Rhodes coordinated media relations and public engagement, emphasizing transparency and the broader societal implications of each case. Oak Haven's residents became active participants in oversight, reporting irregularities and attending educational sessions. Officers within the department, under heightened scrutiny, adapted their behavior, aware that each action was potentially documented, analyzed, and could trigger federal intervention. Kendrick frequently met with the staff, reinforcing principles of ethical practice and strategic litigation. He emphasized that the ultimate goal wasn't simply punitive action, but systemic reform. The city's public meetings reflected the shift. Council members were cautious, aware that every decision and expenditure was under intense observation. Residents began demanding accountability for all levels of local governance, catalyzed by the transparency and effectiveness of Kendrick's Center. Caldwell and Hayes, now notorious figures, faced continuing legal and professional consequences, their reputations irrevocably tarnished. Kendrick's approach combined legal precision, tactical patience, and public education, ensuring the center's impact would endure. Every detail, from the maintenance of accurate records to community outreach, was calibrated to sustain oversight and reinforce the principle that abuse of power carries consequences. As dusk fell over Chicago, Kendrick reflected on the transformation initiated by a single well-documented encounter in a coffee shop. Oak Haven had been reshaped by accountability, transparency, and the meticulous application of justice, demonstrating that the truth, wielded strategically, can reshape systems and communities. The narrative had evolved from a personal confrontation to a lasting framework for civic responsibility and civil rights protection, underscoring the enduring power of preparation, documentation, and unwavering commitment to justice. The Caldwell and Hayes Center expanded its influence beyond Oak Haven, drawing attention from neighboring counties and advocacy groups across Illinois. Kendrick Hale oversaw the integration of new case management systems, ensuring every complaint and every arrest record could be tracked in real time. Transparency became the cornerstone of operations. Detailed reports were distributed to local officials, ensuring oversight at every level. Vanessa Rhodes organized forums and workshops, teaching residents not only their rights, but the mechanisms for enforcing them. Police officers in Oak Haven began adapting their behavior, aware that each interaction could be subject to scrutiny, public recording, or legal challenge. Kendrick implemented rigorous internal audits, cross-referencing arrest records with incident reports, ensuring no violation went unexamined. The center became a model of proactive civil rights enforcement, demonstrating the effectiveness of combining legal strategy, public education, and technological oversight. Oak Haven's citizens embraced their new role as active participants in governance, empowered to report misconduct with confidence. Caldwell and Hayes, facing ongoing consequences, became symbols of accountability, their reputations permanently damaged. Kendrick's approach had turned a single, courageous act in a coffee shop into a city-wide culture of responsibility, illustrating that systematic vigilance and disciplined strategy can reshape institutions and protect citizens from abuse of power. Each day, Kendrick reflected on the enduring lesson: meticulous preparation, unwavering patience, and the strategic use of truth are the most potent tools in enforcing justice. Months passed, and the Caldwell and Hayes Center solidified its presence as a pillar of accountability. Kendrick Hale meticulously reviewed each case, ensuring no misconduct went unnoticed. The center implemented advanced analytics to identify patterns in police behavior, guiding proactive legal interventions. Vanessa Rhodes coordinated with media and civic groups, amplifying the center's reach and reinforcing the importance of civil rights education. Oak Haven's police department, under relentless oversight, adapted its procedures, recognizing that every action could be challenged and documented. Residents became increasingly engaged, attending workshops and using the center as a resource to safeguard their rights. Caldwell and Hayes, now infamous, faced ongoing legal and professional scrutiny, a constant reminder that abuse of power carries lasting consequences. Kendrick's strategy had transformed a single encounter in a coffee shop into a citywide model for civil rights enforcement, combining legal precision, public engagement, and technological monitoring. The center's impact extended beyond punitive measures, fostering a culture of accountability and vigilance that reshaped the community's expectations of law enforcement. As autumn approached once more, Kendrick reflected on the profound shift initiated by one decisive act. That calm assertion of authority, backed by documentation and strategy, could catalyze systemic change and protect the rights of citizens for generations. The Caldwell and Hayes Center continued to expand its influence across Oak Haven and surrounding counties. Kendrick Hale, ever methodical, implemented a comprehensive review system for every police report and complaint, ensuring systematic oversight. Vanessa Rhodes coordinated educational campaigns, teaching residents how to exercise their rights and report abuses effectively. Oak Haven officers, aware of the center's scrutiny and public engagement, adjusted their behavior and adhered strictly to procedure. The city's leadership, facing financial and reputational consequences from previous misconduct, began promoting transparency initiatives. Kendrick's meticulous approach ensured the center's long-term impact. Every misstep was recorded, every pattern analyzed, and every citizen empowered. Caldwell and Hayes, their names now synonymous with corruption, continued to serve as cautionary examples of the costs of abusing authority. Kendrick reflected on the strategic transformation. A single, decisive encounter had initiated a systemic reform, creating a culture where civil rights were actively protected and accountability was unavoidable. The center became both a legal safeguard and a community resource, demonstrating that disciplined strategy and the preservation of truth could reshape institutional behavior and protect citizens from misuse of power. As the Caldwell and Hayes Center established itself, Oak Haven experienced a tangible shift in culture. Kendrick Hale monitored each case closely, ensuring that patterns of misconduct were addressed promptly. Vanessa Rhodes expanded community outreach, conducting workshops and seminars that informed residents of their rights and the legal processes available to them. The city's police officers, aware of the persistent oversight and the potential consequences of misconduct, adjusted their behavior. Transparency became embedded in department protocols, with officers understanding that each action was subject to review. The center's combination of legal enforcement, public education, and technological monitoring ensured long-term accountability. Residents became active participants, reporting incidents and attending informational sessions. Caldwell and Hayes remained cautionary figures, their names synonymous with corruption and mismanagement. Kendrick's initial coffee shop encounter had evolved into systemic reform, creating a culture where civil rights were actively protected, abuses were addressed swiftly, and authority was exercised responsibly. The Foundation's presence ensured that oversight was not temporary but ingrained, reshaping community expectations and embedding justice into the framework of local governance. Oak Haven had learned the enduring lesson: the exercise of power carries consequences, and vigilance ensures that justice is upheld beyond a single moment of confrontation. The final phase of Kendrick Hale's strategy came with the official opening of the Caldwell and Hayes Center for Civil Rights. The ceremony was attended by residents, journalists, and legal professionals, marking the culmination of a journey that began with a single, carefully documented encounter at a coffee shop. Kendrick delivered remarks highlighting the importance of accountability, transparency, and the protection of civil liberties. The center's programs were fully operational, offering high-level legal representation to any resident subjected to wrongful stops, searches, or detentions. Oak Haven's police department, now under continuous oversight, adhered to procedures with heightened diligence, aware that the center monitored patterns, provided resources for litigation, and educated the public. Caldwell and Hayes remained cautionary figures, their names memorialized as a reminder of the consequences of abusing power. Kendrick's work ensured that justice extended beyond punishment, creating systemic reform and empowering citizens to safeguard their rights. Vanessa Rhodes, standing beside him, witnessed the realization of their combined efforts. A city transformed through strategic action, legal precision, and unwavering commitment to truth. Kendrick paused, looking over the assembled community, the sunlight reflecting off the center's facade, and felt a quiet satisfaction. The ripple effect of his measured, strategic actions promised lasting impact. Turning to Vanessa, he smiled slightly, the first real smile since the incident. "Come on," he said, "let's get some coffee." The crowd applauded, aware that a moment of justice had transformed into a permanent institution of oversight and empowerment. Oak Haven would never forget, and Kendrick Hale had proven that the most powerful tool an individual can wield is the truth. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share this video.